There is a version of you that has spent years wondering if any of this is real. You've done the work. You've read the books, sat with the teachings, listened at 2 a.m. when the world was quiet, and your doubts were the loudest thing in the room. And somewhere underneath all of that effort, underneath the hoping and the visualizing and the trying, there is a question you haven't fully let yourself ask. What if none of this is random? What if the fact that you are here right now reading these exact words is not coincidence at all, but something far more precise than you've been allowing yourself to believe? What if being chosen isn't a religious concept or a fantasy? What if it's a physics problem you've already solved without knowing it? Bashar calls this the signal of resonance. And once you understand what it actually means, the way you see your own life, your struggles, your longings, your strange and specific hunger for this kind of truth will never look the same. If this is already landing somewhere inside you, something you feel before you can explain it, you found this for a reason. That's not a marketing line. That's the entire point of what we're about to explore together. Subscribe because we go deep here, and the people who find this channel tend to be the ones who are ready for depth. You're not here by accident, neither am I. Let's start with the word chosen, because it carries so much baggage that it almost collapses under its own weight before we can use it properly. Most people hear chosen and immediately think of something external, a god, a force, a cosmic teacher pointing a finger at one person and not another, and that interpretation immediately creates a hierarchy. Chosen and unchosen, special and ordinary, selected and overlooked. That is not what Bashar means. That is not what this is. You didn't find this, it found you. What Bashar actually teaches is something that sounds simple until you really let it in. You can only receive the frequencies you are already vibrating at. Full stop. Not the frequencies you wish you were at. Not the frequencies you're trying to perform. The ones you actually genuinely, at the level of your state of being, are already holding. Think about a radio tower. It's broadcasting hundreds of signals simultaneously, right now, in every direction. Classical music, talk radio, static, news, frequencies you've never heard and never will. But your radio only picks up the station it's tuned to. The tower isn't choosing you. The tower broadcasts everything. What you receive is a function of your tuning, not your worthiness, not your effort. Your tuning. This teaching is disruptive because most of the manifestation world has accidentally taught you that receiving is something you do, a behavior, a practice, a technique. Visualize correctly. Feel it as real. Raise your vibration. Take inspired action. And all of those things have value genuinely, but they've been framed as effort rather than alignment, as doing rather than being, as striving rather than arriving. And the striving, ironically, is the very frequency that tells the universe you don't yet have the thing you want. It broadcasts lack, and so it receives lack. It's not about trying harder, it's about tuning differently. Here's a second analogy, because this deserves two angles. Think about a key and a lock. You can have 1,000 keys on a ring. Beautiful keys, expensive keys, keys you've carried for years, but only one key opens a specific door. Does the door judge the wrong keys? Does it reject them out of cruelty? No. The lock has a signature, and the key either matches that signature or it doesn't. There's no moral weight in the mismatch. It's just frequency. What Bashar is pointing to is that you are not trying to unlock a reality with the right behavior. You are trying to match the signature of the reality you want with the signature of who you actually are right now. You didn't find this. It found you. The fact that you are drawn to this teaching, to this depth, to this particular framing of reality, that is not random. That is your tuning showing itself to you, and what you are tuned to is significant. Now let's go one layer deeper, because this is where most spiritual seekers get stuck, and where, if you're honest, you might recognize yourself. You've been told your whole spiritual life that you need to raise your vibration, and you've tried. You meditate, you journal, you choose better thoughts, you practice gratitude. You've done all of it with sincerity and discipline and real love for the path, and still, something feels like it's not quite clicking. The shift feels close, but perpetually just outside your reach. You understand the concepts perfectly. You just can't quite feel them in your bones. Here is what I think nobody has said to you directly enough. You don't have a knowledge problem. You have a permission problem. The frequency you want to access isn't being blocked by ignorance. It's being blocked by the deep, quiet, persistent belief that you are not yet the version of yourself who gets to live there. And that belief, that subtle "not yet," is the most powerful broadcasting frequency you have. It drowns out everything else. It doesn't matter how beautifully you visualize if the signal underneath the visualization is whispering, "But not for me." Think of it this way. Imagine you're watching a movie about someone joyful, abundant, deeply in love with their life. You can understand the movie completely. You can appreciate it. You can even be moved by it. But understanding the movie is not the same as being in it. You are not a viewer of the frequency you want. You are meant to be a resident. Here's where Bashar's teaching becomes almost uncomfortably precise. He says your higher self is already broadcasting the signal of who you truly are, fully realized, fully expressed, operating from complete alignment. That signal is being sent to you constantly, without interruption. The only question is whether you are allowing yourself to receive it. And the thing that blocks reception isn't bad luck. It isn't karma. It isn't the universe deciding you're not ready. It's self-concept. The story of not yet. The habit of deferring the feeling of arrival to some future moment that never quite arrives. For me, this clicked after sitting with this teaching for a long time, turning it over and over, understanding it theoretically, and still somehow holding it at arm's length. And then one ordinary afternoon, doing nothing particularly spiritual, it landed differently. I realized I had been relating to alignment as something I would achieve, not something I already was. I had been auditioning for a role I was already cast in. It's not about becoming worthy, it's about recognizing you already are. Because here's what's true, and what Bashar says with a consistency that stops being reassuring and starts being confrontational in the best possible way. Your higher self doesn't withhold. It doesn't dole out alignment based on how good your meditation session was this morning. It is constantly, unconditionally broadcasting the full signal of who you are. The gap isn't between you and the universe. The gap is between who you know yourself to be and who you actually are. You didn't find this. It found you. Let's bring this into something you can actually use today. Because this teaching deserves more than awe. It deserves application. Here is what "you have been chosen" actually means in practice. It means that your presence in this specific frequency, seeking this depth, drawn to this precision, unable to settle for shallow answers, is itself evidence that something in you has already moved. You are not on your way to the path, you are already on it. The fact that you're here in this particular conversation, vibrating at this specific curiosity, that is not the beginning of your alignment. It is an expression of alignment that is already happening. So the practical step, the one thing I want you to carry out of this today, is this. Stop treating your seeking as a symptom of being lost. Start treating it as a signal of where you already are. Here is how that works concretely. The next time you feel that ache, the spiritual hunger, the longing for the thing that hasn't arrived yet, instead of interpreting it as a proof of lack, pause and ask yourself, what frequency am I on that this longing is even possible? Because you can't long for a frequency you're not already close to. A person completely outside of alignment doesn't ache for alignment. They don't even know what they're missing. Your longing is not a wound, it's a compass. Think about how sonar works. A ship sends out a sound wave into the dark water, and the wave only returns, only echoes back, when it hits something real. Your longing is the echo. Something real is out there. Something real is here, and you are already close enough to feel it bouncing back. Think about GPS. It doesn't tell you that you're lost, it tells you exactly where you are and recalculates from there. Your ache, your hunger, your unrelenting desire for this depth, that's not your GPS saying destination unreachable. That's your GPS saying recalculating from your current position. And your current position is closer than you think. The practical instruction is almost offensively simple. Let your seeking be enough, not as a resignation, but as a recognition. Today, don't try to fix the frequency. Just acknowledge it. Say to yourself even just once quietly, with as much honesty as you can bring, I am already someone who is drawn to truth. I am already someone who refuses to stop looking. I am already someone who resonates with depth. Let that be a statement of identity, not aspiration. Let it be where you are, not where you're going, because right now, in this moment, something in you already knows what it's like to be aligned. You wouldn't recognize this teaching if you weren't already living some version of it. You don't recognize a language you've never spoken. You didn't find this, it found you. So let's go back to where we began. That question underneath all the work, all the years of seeking. The one you maybe haven't let yourself fully ask. What if none of this is random? Here is the answer Bashar gives, and it's the one I want to leave you with. You are not a person who happened to stumble onto a spiritual teaching. You are a frequency that called that teaching to itself because you were ready to receive it. Not one day, not when you finally figure it out. Now. The readiness is not coming. It already arrived. It arrived the moment this resonated. It arrived the moment something in you said, yes, this, more of this. That yes is not a beginning. It's a recognition. You've been looking for evidence that you're on the right track. Here it is, not in a sign, not in a synchronicity, not in a manifestation finally showing up. In this, the fact that you could hear this, that it landed somewhere real in you, that your system recognized it rather than dismissed it, that is the evidence you've been asking for. You are not chosen because some external force decided you deserved it. You are chosen because you chose, you tuned, you allowed, and something in the field responded. The teachers you found you. The teachings that cracked you open because you were already at the frequency where cracking was possible. Nothing in your life has been wasted, not the confusion, not the frustration, not the years of almost but not quite. All of it was the signal clarifying. All of it was the tuning. You didn't find this. It found you. And what finds you is always a reflection of what you already are. You were never lost. You were always arriving.